everybody, welcome along to the politics program with me, Tony Browne. And today we have with me Gerald Mitchell. Gerald is all the way from hospital, Fine Gael councillor from a hospital in County Limerick. You're first of all, Gerald, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tony. Delighted to talk. Well, we often met on East Limerick Community Radio. Yeah, we had some great chats, and it was very interesting at the time. You were a great contributor to that program in East Limerick. Some great arguments and some great chats.
It was good while it lasted, isn't it? You know,
it was, Tony. It was. It's nice to be back again talking to you.
Oh, it is great to be back in the air, as we say. You know,
it is indeed.
First of all, you're part of the Cllr, isn't that right? Cllr.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's the area that I'd be elected councillor. There's 7 councillors in the area, in that area elected. You know, yeah. And we're considered rural councillors, and we're part of the overall 40 councillors between the city and the county. As you know, there's the metropolitan and the rural districts. You know, there's Adare, Rathkeale, and there's Cllr, basically. Yeah.
You often wonder, was it a good thing or a bad thing, the joining up? You know,
I suppose. Sorry, Tony, go on.
I said I had mixed views on it, whether it was good or bad joining up. You know, well, since the county was better off on its own, you know, and then I suppose you could say then it was done to save money, wasn't it? And people voted for it, but you'd wonder at times, you know.
We were informed at the time, Tony, that we'd save 12 million, but I see no savings of 12 million. I think, as you know, it was recommended at the time by Mr. Brosnan. He was chair of that committee. But I suppose, like Limerick City and County, we're trying to overcome that divide. And I think maybe as one unit, maybe we're stronger. But as you know, we have our meetings in the rural, you know, Clr, Kilmallock, Adare and Rathkeale. And a lot of work is done at those local district meetings. And of course, we have the metropolitan meetings. So then we come together maybe to pass necessary legislation or the policies. But so far, look, it's a success story. We can't go back on it now. We all work together for the betterment of Limerick City and County. And it's very important, I think, myself, to have a very strong Limerick City, and then it kind of sends vibrations out and re-energizes the county. I think, like, we all have to work together, basically, to bring in the necessary policies to promote Limerick on not only the local, but the national stage and international stage. And I think it's very positive for Limerick at the moment. We've come along with it. Yeah.
First of all, your own area of we'll say the town of hospital seems to be holding its own.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you have the school there, you know, which is great.
Yeah.
But the towns and villages really have been kind of decimated. Some of them have over the years. You know, the amount of businesses that are closing down. Because again, not telling you your own area, but for me, I remember hospital being, I suppose, a thriving little town. You know, with so many businesses there that some of them have gone. You know, what's going to happen?
Yeah, well, I'd agree with you to an extent. It depends on location. I would consider ourselves a hospital, a commuter town, right? We're in between Cork and Limerick. We're 20 minutes from Limerick and we're 50 minutes from Cork. Now, that's a big plus, and 'tis a centre of learning. We've over 1,200 pupils and expanding. And it's one of the few towns that it's self-sufficient. Mere fact, it has 2 of everything. We've 2 pharmacies, we've 2 funeral parlours, we've 2 supermarkets, we've 2 butchers, we've 2 garagemen. It's extraordinary. And then we have a family resource centre. And some businesses in the last 12 months have opened up, like a butcher and a new garageman and a vet. It's extraordinary. And we have 2 vets as well. Hospital Town was always a fall into a centre because it was always attracted business and it was known as a business town. It has remained so because of its attractive location in relation to both. Now people are coming to live since the remote learning came into being. And I think people are picking for it basically to being an education centre. Like, we haven't lost out like other rural towns who are probably a little bit remote. And I think they're the towns that are going to lose out. And lately, as rural councillors, we fought hard not to restrict one-off planning because our our sewer in hospital is over capacity, and Tony, it has to be upgraded. Now, we were informed some works, we were the only one in Limerick there recently, some works will be carried out, but I'm fighting hard that extensive works be carried out, do it once and do it right, being situated where it is on the very busy R513. So, like this, like we have a fall in here from Knockcaney, we have a fall in here from Kilmallock, we have a fall in here from up as far as Mitchellstown, Carrick-on-Laois. So,
Yes.
like we're not feeling the blunt of the pandemic or the boom and bust and Brexit at the moment. But I can assure you other towns are, and other towns, it's no good reducing one-off planning if it complies with planning and sightlines and septic tank requirements. Like until you have the sewers upgraded to full capacity to accommodate housing, because if you restrict one-off housing, where do we attract people to live, work and play? It's like that is where I disagree with the Green policy, Emma Ryan and the party. We have to fund Irish Water and change the policy. The present policy of Irish Water is not working, because you never change winning tactics, but you always change losing tactics. And that's the one thing I have about Irish Water. It has national priority and larger populations. It's not concentrating on local areas, and it should actually be sorted out. Remember, Limerick City and County Council have service level agreements. They're the experts. They do the work, and it should be prioritised county by county. It won't. If you prioritise it nationally, you will overlook towns that are necessary to be upgraded.
That's true, but on Thursday now, for example, I got Gerald rang me to know would I answer a questionnaire. Should only take 2 minutes, which I said anyway. I did. It was all about water. What she asked me now, funny enough, I didn't intend to bring this up, but she said to me, one of the questions was, if I had a problem with water supply, who would I get in touch with? And my answer to her was, I don't know. I mean, years ago, I could get onto the city council, I could get onto some, but now, who do I get onto? Irish Water? Where will I find Irish Water?
Well, you see, they have a centre call line and they only work from a 5-day week. They're not. You have this emergency line over the week, and then they don't come back until the following Monday morning. That is causing fierce problems. So she has a valid point. I mean, and then the councillors get the blame. You know, we have a line, a reps line to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the works will be carried out. They are very good to get back to you, but to get the works done, particularly over the week, it can be very disappointing at times, and people are in urgent need of emergency works over that particular weekend to right the problem, and it doesn't happen, Tony. You know, I would give, if I had my way, if it had back again, you are going to fund it and change how the workings of it and make it more successful, or hand it back to the local authorities and fund them accordingly. And I would be for even a tax under the umbrella of the LPT, a further €50, and then include all that, including the water and upgrading the sewers to county by county. They're the experts, and you can do it better county by county, funded by that tax. You may agree or disagree, Tony. Yeah.
We done this again. You mentioned one-half housing. I've been offered be my bonnet now about one-half housing. You kind of approve of it, right? But what I see around it is this, and I've said this to other councillors now that I've had on. Yeah. Why do we have to have house after house after house on the main road, all facing the road in a line, that you have houses all the way from hospital all the way to Knockclr, if that survives, unless for the private estates, Kilfrush won't let them build, but you'd have all this house to house all along the road. I don't think that's right.
Well, you made a valid point, but I mean, what you can have is we don't presently have service sites because the sewerage plants are not up to the mark, Tony. And if they're not up to the mark, they're not fit for purpose. Do you restrict planning completely and you stop the sustainability of towns advancing forward? So that has all to be looked at. I mean, we cannot continue with what we're doing, one-off housing here and there. And as you know, a lot of ghost estates, and you know, a lot of houses were built on floodplains. Now, there's been much, you know, so we've had problems, but if you build a house, don't knock it unless it's in a total, because they're now needed. We've now a lack of supply of housing, and we now seem to have the perfect storm between Brexit, the pandemic, and trying to get the houses built. and we're trying to get skilled people in the building sector, and the builders as well. Some are not come back to build again, and I'm finding that even in the auctioneering people, they're finding it very hard to get skilled labour now. I think we're facing a big challenge here, and I don't know how it's often going to go. They're setting down targets for building houses. I don't think they will be met, and continually giving support for housing, it only makes the house dearer for the purchaser, which is passed on by the builder. It doesn't work, and I think we're facing a problem, and will have to be looked at more specifically, and further policies will have to be enhanced, I think, to correct that procedure. You know, that's my honest opinion on it. I'm not happy with what's happening at the moment. I know I'm lucky enough. We're in the auctioneering business over 100 years, and it has picked up, and it picked up during the pandemic, and the experts never saw it. The price of houses have gone through the roof, and I think it may be due to the pandemic with the remote learning, and maybe the quality of life in the country now. And remember, when you walk into a half-acre site, Tony, you have privacy. You don't have privacy in an estate, as proved by the pandemic. You have a small backyard. I mean, and then they were talking about extending that, which I brought up at the draft plan meeting. Where do you extend to? For the mother to come in to an extension. The area is gone if we get another pandemic. So I think I'm still for the one-off housing or for the service sites, as you said, but they must have the services nearby.
You'd wonder. But tell me this then, you said about the sewage. I've completely forgotten now, to be honest with you, about sewage, you know, and about But tell me, how do you go about that? What power have you got to complain about the sewage in hospital?
Well, what I did, I, with the help of the local authority, I wrote to Leo Varadkar, and I got in contact with Patrick O'Donovan, the TD, and I got in talk with formerly Tom Neville, and they put the case forward above at the cabinet level. And then, and this was backed up by Limerick City and City Council, that emergency works needed in hospital in that location, because they know the type hospital is a coming town. You know, it's a coming business town. And if people wanted to relocate outside, they usually come to hospital or in the hinterland because of the education facilities nearby. You know, Bruff lost their school they lost their school, and they've come to hospital now in large numbers. They've gone to Kilmallock in large numbers. They've gone to Kilfinnan in large numbers, and they've gone to Effin. They've gone everywhere. I mean, it was a pity Bruff lost its school, but in comparison to Bruff now, it's another great town. But we're the only town that is self-sufficient. We need to go nowhere. We have 2 solicitors, we have 2 auctioneers. You can actually do all your business at hospital with going outside the town. That's what attracts people into the town, and attract people into the town to do business. Now, that's what makes it attractive. But all those other businesses should be put into other towns to make them sustainable, you know. And it won't be sustainable until you have a certain population and the sewers are up to the mark. That'd be my point there. You have to have the sewers fit for purpose. And if you have the sewers fit for purpose, this one-off housing will decrease.
What about then driving? If I'm driving up, I found it several times now when you're driving through hospital. The street is very narrow. What about, and look at the big trucks coming from Cork, right through the village are coming.
Well, we have a huge volume of traffic coming hospital, and but I will argue, they were talking about, I always thought, they were talking about upgrading the new motorway back. Now they've picked a kind of a preferred route, and I think they're actually, there's a lot of opposition to that at the moment. I would say at the moment, upgrade the present route, bypass Charleville, Mallow. That might take maybe the volume of traffic off hospital. But I do think on the west, I do think there should be a motorway here, connecting up to Cllr, connecting up to Rosslare and bypassing Tipperary. And there's some works being carried out on the N24 at the moment. And I think we have to get the lorries into Europe. And all the lorries are coming down from Dublin now and going into Rosslare. And there should be a motorway connection to that. And they can go straight into Le Havre. And they say they can sleep in the lorry. If they go straight into England, they have to rest in England when they get off the ferry. So that's the way to go, Tony, because we have problems with Brexit and tariffs and taxes. We have to kind of go towards Europe now, unless we come to an agreement with Great Britain.
What's that going to do as regards trucks going through hospital? I mean, how do you stop that? I mean, the trucks going through hospital are unreal.
Well, if you upgrade the present route in bypass Charleville, it will take the traffic volumes off the R513. But if you make a connection to Cllr, remember, if you bypass hospitals there, you're going to Mitchelltown, you're automatically on the Dublin motorway and you're coming into the right side of Cork. So if you bypassed hospital Ballynamas, actually it could be at a third of the price. You definitely take 50% of the cost going into an existing route and you're going into the right side of Cork. If you're going in by Charleville and you have a new preferred route on the west, you have to build more roads to go build a ring road around Cork to connect up to the other state near the airport. So I'd be for.
No, hold on a minute. You still have to go through Cllr, right? Cllr is another disgrace. You have to go through Cllr. The road isn't too bad in, but then you're coming along to Herberstown. Granted, I admit now they have a bypass. I call it the Herberstown bypass, right? But then when you come to the end of that road, you have a series of bends coming down into hospital again. They're terrible. When you come around the corner there at Castle Farm and you're coming around, oh God, the terrible bends before you come into hospital. Then you come in and what you meet, only the school. You meet the school straight away on your right hand side, and you're coming around by the church and around by Sullivan's shop, and you're back into the narrowness again. What do you do?
Well, Tony, if you upgraded a new route here, as I was saying, to bypass Tipperary, which is argued by the Haulers Association, which is backed by people, and you have more landmass in this area, a lot more people would use it. Probably towards the centre of Ireland, you're more counties on both sides, and then you wouldn't have the traffic coming through hospital. We have a lot of lorries coming through hospital at the moment because there's a depot above with Aldi and Lidl above in Mitchellstown, as you know, and we've a huge volume of lorries even going towards Mitchellstown and on the Dublin motorway. They're connected to Dublin motorway, so that's the only way I can see solving it, or else bypass Cllr Hospital. And some of the roads have been taken over by the county council that they purchased them years ago. There is a possibility of road widening there. Yeah.
There's some brain box then has decided to build a new road from the junction of Cllr up into the village. I can't see the logic in that. To me, that's a waste of money.
Yeah, but
just because there's a dangerous junction below where you come out onto the Ballysimon Road, we'll call it.
Well, that's for upgrade now. That'll be moving a little bit towards, the GA entrance there at Boher to let people get access that roundabout, because people going into work in the morning, it's very hard to get on the Tipperary.
I know that.
There's works proposed and passed for that. So that should be. The pandemic hasn't helped that situation out at the moment, but the works will be carried out. And as you know, we're trying to carry out works to Rose Cross in Brewery, and that's halted at the minute.
Don't start me now on Rose Cross. They should have put a roundabout there to solve all the problems. The room was there for it. Plenty of room to stop the speeding, to stop the speed to be there. If they put a roundabout there. You see, the problem is the people making these decisions are not using the roads we're talking about. That is the bottom line. I can decide something tomorrow for hospital, and I wouldn't know the first thing about the roadway out there. That is wrong.
Yeah.
You making a decision for somewhere like Glynn in County Limerick, that to me would be crazy. You haven't the control over that. But that's a story for another. But come here, tell me this. What's your opinion? What's your opinion of the elected mayor, the directly elected mayor?
My opinion of the directly elected mayor, when I was canvassed at the time, Tony, to be quite honest with you, I have a lot of people at the doors whom I canvassed. They asked me that question, and I said I have serious reservations. And I said we haven't enough of information. We're just voting on it. We are used as a pilot scheme. Afterwards, it turned out that nobody else ratified it. I think we're used as guinea pigs. I brought this up in the main chamber and kept more, and I got huge backing. And a lot of councillors now, I lost by the mayor's casting vote, that it should definitely coincide with the term of the new councillors, and it should be delayed until the proper powers were given to the new mayor. All the powers have been diluted, and as pointed out by John Moran, a prominent professor, and by our former CEO, he said we got hoodwinked. Basically, the people and the council were hoodwinked, basically. But he couldn't say that when he was the CEO at the time.
I wouldn't agree with you. No, I would not agree with you. You mentioned names there now of people. Are they living in the city? Do they know about the city? It's all right making decisions, like me making a decision for Dublin.
Yeah.
To live and work in the area all your life. It's like me, you taken to me, or me telling you about hospital, you can turn around and say, you're living there, you're not, and I should shut my mouth. I shouldn't be allowed to make a decision for a hospital. The people voted for the elected mayor, which should have happened this year, and it's been put off. Michael Collins outside in Newcastle West was to be the last mayor. And now we have another mayor elected again with political connections. I object to that. The mayor should be independent. He should have no political connections. I don't care who it is, male or female. And the people voted for a directly elected mayor. Some of the counties refused it, like Cork, for example. But I think we had a mayor that would be independent and be able to make decisions, although it says he'd have no real powers, I suppose, as such. And I do think that the money is embarrassing, the amount of money involved. You have fellas running for it now just for the money. But whoever runs should have no political connections. And I think we really want to go to outer Mongolia to get somebody that has no political connections. I think it's wrong. We've had mayors here in Limerick. I can go back further than you know with Limerick City. And I told you in the month of October who was going to be elected next June. I mean, that's crazy. Between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael having the whole thing wrapped up. I mean, that is wrong. I don't care what you say. That is wrong. And I hope people could sleep at night in their beds thinking of that. Couldn't be me. I think it's wrong anyway. But we should have a mayor. And as I said to you, why isn't it been done? Why isn't it being done now? Don't tell me now the pandemic. Because there's nothing got to do with it. Nothing got to do with it. That's what I mean.
Well, Tony, look, the people voted for it, and we have to respect democracy. I totally agree with you. But like, let's give that mayor the proper powers, the proper support, and the proper backing to make the necessary decisions to promote Limerick. Now, when the public were asked to vote on that basis, were just asked to vote for a mayor, but they never gave us the fuller extent of the powers he would have, and that seems to have been diluted. Who's going to have the final say on the mayor? Is it the TDs above in Dublin are going to gag in? Or could he or she be attached to a certain political party or a supporters group, and then to cause consternation inside in the chamber, right? It takes less numbers now to vote to get certain things through the chamber with this new powers of mayor as proposed. But I have no problem with the directly elected mayor, but it should coincide with the new term of councils, because we may have a set of new councils at the way the polls are going at the moment for the various parties. And they should all be singing on the same hymn sheet and start the same day with the new term of councillors. By all means, I welcome it, but give him the proper powers to carry out his job on a proper manner, on a proper basis. That's like, I was voted for by the people democratically, so I respect that. Like, I as a councillor, I'm a servant of the people, right? That's our job, to help people. And I love doing my job to help people, and I combine it with my business. And if you don't like it, it's not work to me, because I could work 7 days a week. I just like doing, and I just like helping people. Now, if this has an awful jump in salary, which I don't like, is it going to attract a different type of clientele for money? And you know, when you increase money, you take your eyes off the job instead of helping people. I would take less. When I went forward for the council, I don't want a salary. I'm the fifth Mitchell to be elected. I'd take 5,000 too. It doesn't matter to me. I like what I'm doing. I like to help my area, and I like to help County Limerick as a whole. And in doing that, I'm helping Limerick City. But 150,000 and 2 advisors, and what powers, and he might have too much powers, we'll be arguing in the chamber. That has all to be trashed out, and 'tis pie in the sky, as I can see in the moment. But I do respect democracy. But let's do it once, and let's do it right.
Well, I can tell you, for example, in Limerick, that if there was a mayor there, there's so much, I know what you're talking to the city now for a minute, and this applies as well to hospital and to County Cllr. There should be something done about all the empty buildings. We know that there are people paying rates, well, whether they're paying them or not, but somebody owns all these, I suppose, buildings in a terrible state, really is the best word I could say, that are boarded up. That should not be allowed, even in the village of hospital. I'm sure there are buildings that you're passing every day of the week, and you say, oh, what's his name owns that, his father died, and that should not be allowed in a town or a village, and a building should be left falling down. Why isn't this being
But we brought in laws there, the derelict site register now, and there's compulsive orders being that is being sorted out at the moment. They're actually acquiring a lot of properties, Tony. So we voted for that in the bylaws to bring in that. So that's being done. And actually, there's a lot of them going before the courts. I know a couple of people approaching me about that. So the properties that are not fit for purpose, they're in a derelict state, are going to be taken over by the council in conjunction with the owners. If they don't perform and if they don't accept the council decision, they're going to be taken from them, and they'll be assessed at the market value. And that's the way it's going to go. And they also said to me, if there's no proper title, it will be made good by the council. So we've a policy in that at the moment.
I hope you're right, but I wouldn't exactly be holding my breath for that now.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I'm not being smart now, but I cannot see that happening. Who's the decision on this? Who is making the decision?
The Gordon Daly's in charge of that directorate. Gordon Daly is the director of services. Gordon Daly inside, and he's.
But there are more directors of services than they have a sense of up in heaven. Well, there's a director of service for this. There's a director of service for that. I mean, where are these titles? Who appointed the CEO, for example? Who appointed him?
I assume the government, Tony, or a TD. I can't speak for the CEO because I can only speak for as a representative myself in the council. I can't speak for management. My job is to bring them to task and to bring them to account in any decision. And sometimes they haven't cooperated to that effect. They go against us when it suits them, which I don't like. I keep asking the straight questions. Sometimes I don't get straight answers, and I pursue and persist, which they don't like. So I'm not going to answer for the CEO how he's elected. That's for him to answer. I suggest you ask the doctor.
Yeah,
you should do an interview with Dr. Karen.
Are you seeing? I've gone to council meetings. As a matter of fact, I was often the only person above in the loft upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And I listen to the rubbish that goes on. The answers that some of these, as you call them, director of services, answer back.
Yeah.
They're unreal.
Yeah.
I'm saying, is he for real? They have their ass laugh. They're being well paid for a job that, to me, sometimes they're not doing. But what can you do about it? I don't know.
That's not, you see, as a councillor, that's not under our standing orders. We're there to represent the people and bring them to account and pass legislation and support policy. That's if we agree with that. But we have standing orders and reserve functions, which we can make our policies come true on, as you know yourself. We can vote against it. You were talking about a worst cross there. We were voting against it until we were told with legal implications, and we asked for clarification on that. We consulted the solicitor and said they can't badger us like that. The rest is history. Now that's going into court, so I can't further comment on that. There's a judicial review on that, and all we wanted was, if it opened, that you wanted a roundabout, and we wanted an extra leg off the roundabout into the business, because that's open dark in the mornings and dark at night. And it's a lot easier access instead of going on to a stacking lane off the roundabout, crossing upcoming traffic. It's a lot easier going off the roundabout. It's safer, but they didn't cooperate. So we'll see how that works out now. So we've taken on the management, we've taken on the engineers, but it's very hard to take on the engineers and the management when they're backed by the taxpayers' money and they have their own legal solicitor and it's backed by taxpayers' money. If we take them on, we're not backed by taxpayers' money. This is the private businessman that takes them on. He's to incur the cost himself. So that's not balanced representation as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know, Judge, it must be very frustrating at times, when you think about it.
You're totally right. What we do at all times, we represent the people for the betterment of the area. We do our best, but sometimes it can, as you said, it can be very, 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 very frustrating at times, because it's a frustrating process when you try to take on the management at times, because it's their way or no way. But
I know that,
and that's the problem.
Let me guess. What about all these committees? What committee are you on? Are you on any of these?
What committee am I on? I didn't go on too many. I was on the JPC last year, and I think other people went on that. I'm not on too many committees at all, to be honest. I'm just on.
What's that? The joint policing, is it?
The joint policing. I always enjoy that, because we have a quarterly presentation on the JPC in County Cllr, and as you know, we've had a new Paul Reedy now is the new superintendent, at the moment, and we have Dermot O'Connor from Roxborough there, and like he's just been newly appointed. He gave his first presentation in stats last day, so he seems amenable. He seems to, he seems approachable and friendly. I know that Dermot O'Connor is very efficient and hardworking, and I consider him. I met him inside as deputy mayor there, and I found him a very approachable, hardworking individual, and has a nice way about doing things. I really have great time for Dermot O'Connor. I've had good stories about Paul Reedy, but we've had our problems in the county. They've been widely expressed with antisocial behaviour. We brought it to the fore. We've highlighted it. But I think the Gardaí have to be backed by the government. They're the enforcers of the law, and they have to take the necessary action to curtail any misbehaviour in any form or it may be, and take the necessary action. They're officers of the court. It's their job to protect the citizens of this country. So basically, the government backs the guards.
Well, wait a minute. You said he's up in Roxborough. So what would he know about hospitals?
He's part of Carrickinish. He's part of Carrickinish is in our municipal area. That's why he comes on the
duty. In hospital itself. Was he in hospital to see what it's like? Would he even go? So
I'd say possibly drive out, but he's coming because Carrickinish is in our municipal area. It's under the Roxborough. Carrickinish is under the Roxborough district, Tony.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the councillor now that resigned from it. You probably heard he resigned from it.
I did. He did. Liam Galvin, my colleague.
A lot of facts and figures that were given. They weren't even listening. They came in and gave this presentation, and it was all waffle, he said.
Well, you see, we tried to bring him to account. Liam has resigned. He stated on the radio there lately, I think. But I think he's frustrated because he feels there isn't enough being done about the anti-social behaviour that's happening in the county, but that's his own personal decision. But that's Liam's. He's very vexatious on that. He's really annoyed with what's happening out the county as regards this anti-social behaviour, and there's no doubt about it. There is some anti-social behaviour outside in the county, and this will have to be counteracted.
There is absolutely nothing being done. The guards are there, they've been well paid to do a job, and they're doing nothing. You think they were doing it free? They've been paid to do a job. What are they doing about it in the villages? I know of other villages that councils have told me what's going on there, and it's dreadful. And there's absolutely nothing. They give you these facts and figures which mean nothing to 99% of people. They're doing nothing. These superintendents are just brought in from places. They wouldn't know what they're reading. They don't go out anywhere. That's one sure thing. They don't have to go out. They don't send the army just up, guard out. I mean, the whole system is crazy. There's nothing being done. If I have a problem here, and the same in the city, I said the other night to another councillor, you will not get a guard in the street in Limerick between 5 o'clock and 10:30 at night. Come back and show me a photograph of a guard that's on duty. They're just, I counted 11 squad cars last night outside Henry Street. What are they doing outside the door on Henry Street? 11 of them there. I counted them, I did. I mean, why aren't they out in hospital and areas like that? Just driving around even, which they do in the city. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tony, I can't disagree, but the mayor made that point there lately that we kind of was an uneven distribution of guards. He said there was 100 guards allocated to Dublin. So I agree. Look, I would be all for on the beat. You cannot beat a guard walking around the small towns and villages. Well, I totally agree. It's a personal link and get to know the people. So I'm not disagreeing with you there. I think that policy has to be changed and they have to go back on the beat, because mostly now you see guards and cars driving around in various roads. But it's nice to walk up the towns and villages and be seen inside in Limerick City. So I totally agree with you there. I think that policy will have to be changed. But the respond time as well. The respond time will have to start improving. The respond time out to various instances in the seating count will have to start improving. The respond time is vital. Vital.
I was playing I played in a band, right? I played in Madden's pub one night. I'm going back now, God, what am I saying, 50 years at least, right? And there was a guard came to the door that cleared the pub in 2 minutes because the guard was there in hospital. And I remember it well, I do. And it was good. The guard was out walking, whoever he was. I don't know who he was, but he was there and it worked. Whereas now, you never get a guard in the street. You won't get. How many guards walk up and down hospital? When was the last one that walked up the street?
Well, there's a particular man there at the moment, Niall McIntyre. Yeah, he's a good community. I see him walking up and down the streets and pulling in below to the guards barracks and walking around in the car, watching and he's observing. No, I think, and then we have a guard also, Michael Dibley. He's a sergeant there, and he's on the make as well. So actually, we're lucky with the two guards. And remember, they were the two guards that came on a quick response to the shenanigans going on in Cllr there lately. They were the two guards on top of that. And they were backed up by the armed response unit, but they were there. So the guards in hospital at the moment, I'm quite happy with them at the moment, to be quite honest. And they're there and they're seeing and they're doing their job.
And that's fair.
And we don't seem to have antisocial behaviour at the moment. But that's not to say it isn't elsewhere. Liam Galvin has pointed it out. Other councillors have pointed out. It is happening elsewhere. And it has to be stamped out because we're going into lawlessness. But there has to be a proper response from the guards, backed up by the government, and be accountable for their actions. Like, it's not for me to solve a troubled area, come on a troubled area to be reporting it. The guards are a professional force to investigate and carry out the necessary action to curtail any future misbehaviour. That's their job, that's their remit, and they're paid for that, as you said, Tony. So I'd like to see more people on the beat throughout County Limerick and in the city, as the mayor pointed out. So if you don't stamp this out, we're running into lawlessness and a breakdown in society. You can't have fisticuffs. You can't have fisticuffs. You can't do what you like. You have to protect the citizens of Ireland, the law-abiding citizens, and it is the job of the guards who enforce the law, backed by the government. And that has to be stepped out and a proper policy brought in immediately going forward, because, as you said, stats and this and that, it doesn't mean anything to the army punter. They want to see the guard. They want to see the guard on the street walking.
Also,
the sight of the guard on the street as well. You'll find when he's on the beat, there's less incidents because he's visibly seen on the ground, and that has to come back.
Well, let's do it, but will it come back? They'll tell you they haven't enough members, which to me they have, but then again, that's a story for another day. Do you cover back as far as Knockdown?
I do, Tony. Yeah.
You go as far as the cross of the tree, like, or is that in your remit there?
No. Mitchellstown, part of Kilbehenny, Anglesborough. I go as far as that.
Ryan, yeah. Oh no, I forgot about Eddie Ryan saying that.
Yeah.
Eddie said that the other night that he's to go back. I forgot that now. I did, to be honest with you.
Yeah. We're going over into Doon. We're going over into Capmore. We're going as far as O'Rourke's Cross there in Brewery. So we've actually we've the biggest set of roads, and we've one of the biggest areas. But I will say the councillors in the area are working hard. Yeah. And we don't bring politics into it.
Working hard. How do you mean working hard? You don't have to get up in a shovel, do you? Working hard.
Well, if I had to, Tony, I would.
Nobody out of that. I should tell people that you're actually an auctioneer. You must have seen a big change in prices, have you? From when you started.
Oh, huge, Tony.
But how
it wasn't only three. Yeah, there's only we used to go. We're selling a house for 65, and it's now presently making 100 at the moment. That was 3 months ago, and you men put it back up for sale. Look at that for an increase, 65 to 100, and it still hasn't stopped bidding. There was terraced houses we sold, and they were making 50, 60 to the last 105. So you're knocking about 100% increase. But then again, the county was that little bit lower in prices, and it's becoming more popular to live. And people, if you compare it to a semi-detached house in price 270. Now we go on to 300. You'll get a nice house outside in County Limerick, and you've everything laid on all the services around 250 to 300,000, and it's detached, and you can walk in your own back door and your front door, and you have a piece of land with it. So a lot of people are discovering that now. They're discovering that, and they're moving out the county, but they want the services in the county. The broadband is very important. They want to be near the cities. And hospital is one of the lucky ones. Brough, Knockcaney, and all this area over here. Kilmallock is going well. Knocklong is going well. Like Capmore is coming. There's a couple of them that are a bit off the beaten. The towns and villages that are off the beaten track that have no services are going to lose out long term. But we have schools, and we have a few good towns like Kilmallock. Hospital is a good town. Carrick-in-Lish is coming. There's a population increase there. So 3 good towns around us.
Brewery is very good town as well, isn't it? Brewery has been
brewery is going, yeah, it is going well. Yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, I thought the brewery was a bit run down. There's much really in brewery now. There's good few houses going to be built in brewery. I think brewery was going to come, and there's a food factory being built there as well. So, like, there's you have, and a lot of these towns and villages, you have the GA doing great work as well. Like they keep the community spirit together, and as proven in the pandemic, they're a real asset, and they're shining in these tough times. Yeah. Yeah, some of them are. They're looking at, but then again, in general, a lot of the towns, what's killing them is the big shopping centre in the city. There's so many coming in, into the city. They could get the goods locally, nearly not as cheap, but fairly the same prices. But some of them want to come into the city to shop,
Yeah, but as you said, people would love to support local services. At times, you see, the bigger stores have a big competitive edge. But I would say to people, support local, eat local, and enjoy local as much as possible, because there's a lot to maintain the jobs and to sustain the community in the towns and villages. I'd be a full supporter of that. And that's what I would say. Support all the local services. Limerick City, support Limerick. We're talking about motorways to Cork. First and foremost, support your county towns, support your county villages, and support Limerick City. I mean, I kind of very positive about Limerick now, the amount of jobs being resurrected in the last few years. It's really re-energized, and it has a positive name. There's new jobs being announced against every day. Every month there's extra jobs coming to the fore. And I think we're very lucky to have Limerick, and we're very lucky to be near a city like Limerick. And I think it's gaining momentum. There's a renaissance there, and I'm happy with Limerick at the moment. And I think that we've a lot of education institutions, higher educations. I think they're all a plus for Limerick. We've multinationals there. Like, I'd be positive about Limerick. When you go back to Tipperary and you look at Tipperary town, it's on the decline. Limerick is coming to the fore, but like. I've often gone to Tipperary, and my God, if you walk to town of Tipperary, the amount of places closed, something will have to be done about Tipperary. It's really gone on the decline. Have you been there yourself, Tony?
So I've been in Tipperary town now in 2 years. Well, last year, you may as well forget about it. Nobody did anything. But I haven't been in Tipperary town in about 2 years, let's say. But it used to be a great town. It probably still is, There's one shop in Tipperary, and I can't think of the name of it now, and they sell everything from a needle to an ankle. But what you're looking for, you get it in one shop going up the street there on the right hand side. They have everything. I often went in to just look around the shop. As you said, it's but then again, the big multiples have moved in there.
They have.
They're in, they're nearly everywhere.
You've Lidl and Aldi have moved into this, and you've done stores on the outskirts. Some people would have argued maybe the outskirts was the wrong place to put it, but at the time, I think the businesses didn't want them in the cities, in the town centre. But look, Tipperary was always a great cattle town with maps and very friendly people, and it's still countrified, and I love that about Tipperary. I think there should be. I think it is probably Limerick City is a city. Tipperary is a town, but I'd love to see investment going into Tipperary and coming to the fore. Yeah, I would. Yeah, they're friendly people.
But as regards, you said the multinationals, they're a big threat. The multinationals, even in Limerick, out in Raheen, there's factories.
Yeah.
Threat. When are they going to close? Is the next thing. That's what I hear. When I hear of these jobs coming up, and they never fulfill the numbers in here, you get a councillor comes on there and he says there's going to be 480 jobs created. And I've watched them, and there was no 480 jobs. And then the biggest thing is you're waiting to see, when is it going to close? That's a problem with multinationals, you see. They can say, good luck tomorrow, we're off. That's it. It's frightening. I know we're just discussing it now. We're not arguing for or against it. I'm just saying to you, that is the threat that's there with multinationals. If a multinational moved into hospital tomorrow, right? They could create jobs. They have an Abbey Feed now. They have do the lenses. Can't think of their names now. But if they move, the threat is there. What will happen if they go? I
totally agree. Yeah.
That's the thing.
But the only thing I would say to you there, Tony, is Trump. I think Biden is more for Ireland. He always claims he's an Irishman, no matter whom he meets, he's an Irishman. I think his policy towards Northern Ireland is, I think has been very positive. So I think maybe Trump, maybe Boris Johnson was kind of following Trump more. I think maybe for the multinationals and with the corporation tax, as you know, that's gone up a couple of percentage. But that could be the detrimental factor in the long term. But we have a skilled workforce in Limerick City. We've a lot of higher authority education. You know, the Limerick University, Limerick Institute, of Mary Immaculate College, and the Fashion College there. So we have a lot going for Limerick. We have a skilled workforce. There's a lot of people now coming to live in Limerick and County Limerick. They wouldn't have thought about this before. They're coming down from Dublin. And remember, in Dublin, the price of property is twice as much. Like, there's no problem getting $750,000 or $1 million for a property in Dublin. Like, you come down with $1 million in Dublin, pay your mortgage, you go in Dublin, you can arrive down with maybe 400,000 or 500,000. You'll buy a lot of property in County Limerick for it. And you'll buy a nice property.
A man that you might remember well now. He was a Mr. Shelby. He lived below Killmare Castle.
Right? Oh, I did indeed. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He told me, now again I'm talking about nearly 30 years ago, when he first came to hospital, I got to know the man, right? He told me he sold a property in London, I think if I'm not mistaken, at the time, it was colossal money, about 3 million.
Yeah.
Came over the hospital, and he was able to buy that place there. And he told me that with the profit that he made, he could buy Killmare Castle, and he ended up with enough money to live on, and it didn't trouble him,
Wait till I tell you, Tony. I sold him that property, Killmare Castle, on 16 acres of ground for £48,000. And I got him 1.2 million. It was 1.3 million I got him. So, as well as he saving, so he did well.
Yeah.
He did well. That's what he got for it, no?
Yeah. Lovely spot he bought there, I remember him telling me that.
There's a William Fox now has it bought. William Fox, he was hoping to get some planning in, but he's living there now and he's a nice chap. And he's using it as a residence. He's carried out some works, the same renovation works.
Michael Sullivan is doing well as well, isn't he? And the sons.
Who?
Michael Sullivan is doing well there with the
yeah.
It's a good business.
Michael has always been a very good businessman. The Sullivans have been attached to business for a long time, over 100 years. But they work hard. They have a work ethic, and he's involved. He's also bought the supermarket at the top of the town, as you know yourself. So he's so that's a plus. If you work hard, it will be a success story.
Yeah, and look, it's not got to do with it as well. That I'm sure you'd agree.
It has, borrowing at the right time. It does. But if you work hard, Tony, work hard. The work ethic, very important, and do your business right. And that's why. Be honest in your business, be straight in business. That's why I'd be asking the questions inside the council, because I'd be trying to ask the questions how I run my business. I'm accountable, run it right and do it right. But not everybody comes out with that intention. Like they adopt a different attitude when you ask the questions, and I don't understand that. Like you get the best value for money, but the one thing I have with the council, when I'm spending money, I'm spending my own money. You can't beat business people inside asking questions because they're running a private business and they have to balance the books. But when they're spending their own money inside there, I'd be suggesting they get value for money. And sometimes I think they may not. And they're not coming from that point of view of getting value for money. And that's where all this could go wrong and does go wrong. There should be an oversight of getting value for money. It's like the Children's Hospital in Dublin. There's an oversight getting value, and we don't know where we stand now with that. And that's the problem. We're asking the people to represent us, and then we've no oversight in our spending. Now, we were informed the other day with support from the government with the budget coming up. We have to pass the main budget, with the supports coming up. We're down $1 million but we're very lucky only for the support from the government and the waiver of the rates and supports. We'd be down substantially more. So we're down $1 million at the moment. So that budget is coming. We're trying to balance it.
I don't know, John. I don't know. We hope for the best. What's going to happen, But then again, come here. It's Fine Gael's fault, about the Children's Hospital, isn't it?
Pardon?
Is that not Fine Gael's problem, the Children's Hospital? They're in government.
Well, look, I'm not going to comment on that, but whoever what department was in charge at the Minister of Health, I know, what went wrong there, but there's something radically went wrong with oversight there as far as I'm concerned.
Let's talk about it. I feel again it's still very quiet, isn't it?
Well, they have. I don't know what's happening there. It's like I stick to the local scene, basically help the local people. I'm more interested in Limerick City and County now than the Children's Hospital.
Ger, look,
Yeah.
we're talking nearly an hour as it is. You wouldn't, time flies, that's right, and having a good time.
It does, it does.
You know,
Yeah.
and first of all, anyway, Ger, can I, since we come to the end, can I thank you for coming on, first of all, right?
It's my pleasure, Tony, because I always said one thing about you. You always ask the hard questions and you always said what you felt in your mind. And we need more presenters like you. Ask the questions and get the answers.
Well, as Eddie Ryan said, answer the question. Listen to I tell you, the only thing is, there's a few Fine Gael councillors, I'm afraid, are ducking me. They won't talk to me. So
Why is that now?
I don't know, Jack. I don't know.
Because you asked the hard questions, Tony, and I'd say one thing, you always said it straight. You always called it straight. When I was outside in the community, East Limerick, by God, you asked the hard questions. And I think you put poor old Timmy Long through it, did you? He got a heart attack over you.
As you said, Gerald Mitchell, Fine Gael councillor.
And of course, Tom, just before you forget, your good friend Tom Ryan was great to ask the hard questions too and make some great statements.
He fell out with me, unfortunately. He fell out with me.
Did you? Oh my God.
It's a pity. That's a story for another day. All right, Gerald. Can I thank you?
And thanks, Tony. And if I don't see you before Christmas, happy Christmas.
I don't know that a calendar this year. You give me one.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one, Tony. I'll bring it into you.
You gave me that today of our good friend Mike Donovan's funeral. Mike in Shannon.
That's right.
Remember?
That's right. I do.
You gave me a lift in, you know.
I did.
But Mike was a very good friend of mine. He was, you know, he died too young. Yes. Absolutely, you know.
He went out into McMahon's for having the funeral, wasn't they?
Yeah.
They were, yeah. He was buried outside in Shannon, wasn't he, Tony?
He was buried near the wall, yeah, he is, you know. He was a lovely fella, you know. A gentle fella, you know. What can we do? Anyway, Ger, I did anyway. Thanks very much, Joe. Okay.
God bless, Tony, and thank you. Pleasure to be on with you and talking to you. Pleasure always. Thank you. Bye.
Good luck, Joe.